Happy International Working Women's Day. Women hold up more than half the sky, and honestly, I wouldn't blame them all that much if they decided to drop it on us useless ass men. The left has to do better in its treatment of our women and non-male comrades, like especially black women content creators that are leftists. They're generally treated like shit. Never mind the treatment of black women within leftist organizations. Yes, you are the first. Ripe and ready potato salad god. Like always, you're my first and best shooter. But going back to what I was saying, like I see PSL making these fake ass odes and paeans to the contributions of revolutionary women, yet they have a sexual abuse scandal every few fucking months. So it's toothless. Like we in the left have to do better by our women comrades. Otherwise, we are simply full of shit. And people that are full of shit deserve to lose. Did you know that the US dropped more bombs on Vietnam than were dropped by all sides during the entire Second World War? Did you also know that Vietnam's communist guerrillas brought the world's largest army to its knees anyway? That's why it always kills me when people are like, oh, you can't beat the US. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. It's common to call the Vietnamese people's resistance like a bunch of farmers in sandals with shitty gear. I mean, yeah, that was what a lot of the National Liberation Front was, but they also had a professional North Vietnamese army. PSL, CPI, PCUSA, sex pests and perverts. Indeed. That's why I tell people to avoid those organizations. No, Red does not have sexual abuse allegations against them. Organizations such as PSL and the PCUSA and CPUSA have sex abuse allegations against them. Not CPUSA. I'm sorry if there's any CPUSA comrades watching. I mean, CPI. But yeah, all of these brownie wannabe Boy Scout groups, they tend to treat women like shit. Did you know that women perform 12.5 billion hours of unpaid work every single day? I did not. On International Working Women's Day 2024, here are 10 more shocking facts which highlight how far we are from achieving global gender equality. Women don't enjoy equality with men in one single country in the world. Yes, that includes China. It could take 286 years for laws that enshrine gender equality to be secured globally. Despite all UN member states agreeing in 2015 to achieve gender equality by 2030, at the current rate of progress, it will take almost 3 centuries to fulfill that goal. Hey, BRG, just finished midterms. How are you doing? I'm well. I'm well. And I have a very positive and fulfilling day at work. Best of luck on your midterms. One woman or girl is killed by someone in her family every 11 minutes. In Central and South America, there was a 10% and 8% drop, respectively, in the number of femicides, women and girls killed by a partner or family member in 2022. In North America, however, this figure increased by 29%. On average, women perform almost 3 times as many hours of unpaid labor per day than men. In some places, this reaches 10 times as much. 4% of women around the world cannot get paid work because of their caregiving obligations compared to 6% of men. Talking about caregiving obligations, it's funny like how there's a division of labor on the left, like all of these so-called soft work, fundraising, calling people, door knocking, copies, graphic design. A lot of that shit is performed by women. Whereas when it's time to look hard and play with guns or go half-assed around with the cops and the guys, um, are front and center. And even then, the women are front and center at that type of work as well. But the guys always prioritize the supposedly masculine elements of our work. So don't do that. Do some dishes, cook some food, serve some food. As a matter of fact, when I was a Maoist, like it always irritated me how people were talking about like, oh, this is economism. Would I ever buy a home in Keighley? Uh, no. I really don't have any motivation to go move to Is Kigali the capital of Rwanda? Uganda? No, I don't have a desire to move to either one of those places. I'm certainly very pretty, but yeah. Civis Americanus. There are more forcibly displaced women and girls than ever before. 2022, there were over 55 million displaced women and girls worldwide, a figure which will have soared in 2023 due to Israel's onslaught on Gaza. How was the chitza? It was very delicious, although I'm pretty sure it made my stomach hurt. 6. Women in Saudi Arabia have more abortion rights than in many U.S. states. I did not know this. Abortion is totally banned in 14 U.S. states. Saudi Arabia allows abortions when there is a physical or mental health risk. In the U.S., only life or medical emergency exceptions apply in some states. 7. 33,000 girls become child brides every day. Almost 1 in 5 women are forced into marriage when they are children, and the rates are declining so slowly that at the current pace, it will take 300 years to eliminate the practice completely. We always think that we're living in like the pinnacle of humanity. We have Wi-Fi, we have internet. You can talk to somebody in fucking Sudan from your mobile phone. And yeah, we have fucking child marriage in this advanced year. 8. Women are diagnosed later than men in 700 diseases. It takes women 4.5 more years to be diagnosed with diabetes and 2.5 years to be diagnosed with cancer. The gender gap in healthcare means women spend 25% longer in poor health than men. 9. 80% of those displaced by climate change are women and girls. And in 2022, 84% of refugees fled from highly climate vulnerable countries, up from 61% in 2010. Women and girls are also 14% more likely than men to die from natural disasters. 10. Capitalism is killing women. Nearly 10 years since the UN committed to achieve gender equality by 2030, not one of the indicators for equality are being met. This is proof enough that trying to reform a system that has such callous disregard for half of humanity is futile. In short, to save women, we need a revolution. Biden wants to build a port in Gaza to export gas from the coast. It's not for aid, it's to steal resources. So, yeah, substantial deposits of gas and oil and other valuable shit lies in the Mediterranean Sea off the Gaza Strip. And Biden announced to great fanfare that he is building a port with U.S. military assistance at Gaza to supposedly facilitate aid receipt. And obviously, when the Americans do something, it is not out of concern for the welfare of the struggling and oppressed masses. It's to get a foothold, just like the whole situation with the Kurds during the Syrian civil war. They were not concerned about the national liberation of Kurdistan, which is still a noble goal that I hope is realized in my lifetime. Their goal was to camp out there, fuck with Assad, and steal Kurdistan's oil, which they have done. And then after that, they threw the Kurds to the tender mercies of the Turks. So, yeah. Whenever the U.S. shows up, you can be sure that there is some fuckery afoot. Just like whenever the National Guard shows up, you can be assured that there is some fuckery afoot. This is apparently because a Metropolitan Transit Authority worker in New York City was attacked, but soldiers should not be checking bags and performing law enforcement functions. Like, this looks like fucking martial law. This is martial law. You have the National Guard, like, armed. These dudes are strapped. This guy has a fucking rifle. And no. Just no. But this is supposed to be a free country. But we have soldiers that are performing law enforcement functions in the country's largest city. We live in hell. This is dystopian. We should not have armed soldiers, National Guardsmen, carrying out law enforcement tasks. That is simply intolerable. Joint Task Force, Empire Shield. Look at this. Like, this looks like fucking Israel. Container inspection. Backpacks and containers are subject to inspection prior to entering the mass transit system. Individuals may refuse to permit inspection and elect not to enter the system. So if you don't let them go through your bag, then you're not allowed to ride a subway that you pay for. Individuals will not be permitted access to the system with the uninspected container. Individuals who refuse the container search and later attempt to enter the system with the uninspected container may be subject to arrest. This is just fucking garbage. It wasn't even a bag search. You just flashed a flashlight in there. Yeah. Fuck Kathy Hochul. Fuck Eric Adams. Fuck everybody who had a role in this. A new bill could leave many Missourians without a roof over their heads. Why? Because of this fuck from Chesterfield.
9 at 10, it is a proposal that could leave you without a roof over your head.
Missouri lawmakers want to pass a bill allowing landlords to deny
My state has just been catching all the L's lately.
housing to tenants receiving federal assistance.
New at 10, Melanie Johnson follows the push to strip housing protections. Melanie?
Yeah, Corey and Sam, a state representative from Chesterfield introduced this bill with the sole purpose.
Chesterfield is where a lot of landlords live, by the way. Like, they own properties in the city or in North County or South County, working class districts of St. Louis and St. Louis County. And yeah, you don't have government subsidized housing out in Chesterfield and Baldwin and Wildwood and all these places.
To protect private
Yes, Missouri is a failed state. Come liberate us, Comrade Pritzker.
property owners. More than 100 lawmakers voted in favor of it, and if it becomes law,
100 people that need to be redacted.
this could mean federal assistance checks, credit scores, and eviction history could be used against you when finding a place to live.
They shouldn't put everybody in the same boat. It's not okay.
These are the types of people that they don't want living in Chesterfield, okay? Like, this is the type of person that they are penalizing, a working class black woman.
Terry Jones says Missouri House Bill 2385 is a personal attack on renters like her.
We all need help. And just because we get assistance, it doesn't mean that we are not liable, because we are.
The legislation introduced by State Rep Ben Keithley from Chesterfield
Not a very attractive man. All of the people responsible for these things are like the absolute ugliest ghouls you can imagine.
would give landlords the power to deny tenants housing based on federal vouchers, including Section 8.
I'm not really sure why landlords would be interested in discriminating against Section 8 vouchers, because, I mean, the money ends up in their hand regardless.
Wyatt Johnson just moved to Missouri and was shocked to find out about the 103 to 33 vote pushing the bill to the Senate. House Bill 2385's summary reads, prohibits local governments from requiring private property owners to accept certain types of income.
You're kind of biting the hand that feeds you if you're...
What did Boeing not do? Boeing is one of the biggest United States military contractors. It is directly responsible for the debts of untold people across the world. You need to seek an internship somewhere else if you call yourself a socialist or a communist or any of that. Communists have no business working for Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, any military contractor.
intentionally turning away Section 8 residents.
They could deny you housing.
Representative Lakeisha Bosley represents parts of St. Louis City. She's against the legislation, which would stop local governments from creating ordinances banning landlords from refusing to lease or...
So basically, they're trying to make it legal to engage in classist discrimination, because the notion is that people who are Section 8 or people who receive government assistance with housing or any other type of assistance are lower class, which they are, and unworthy of living amongst so-called civilized people. So if this ordinance passes, it's going to, first of all, it's going to be a major windfall for slumlords because, like, it's going to allow them to prey on people even more. Like, we don't have to repair shit. We could just fix it so that you end up getting evicted because now this fucking law is in place. So we can cook up some shit and we can kick you out using your assistance as a sort of justification. Yeah, it's going to be all bad if this passes.
Rent to someone if they're using federal assistance. It would give landlords the power to use things like credit scores, evictions, and request criminal records.
Do you have any idea how easy it is to get a criminal record in this country?
To reject potential tenants. Do you think this bill has any...
The CEO of Boeing was a black Morehouse grad. That doesn't mean shit. Black people can be evil too.
Racist or discriminatory undertone?
Absolutely, 100%. If you think about the areas that this will affect, it's going to be poor people and marginalized communities. This is essentially Jim Crow all over again.
Bosley took First Alert 4 to the Lucas Hunt housing complex to explain the possible impact if the bill passes.
A lot of people who are potentially trying to be homeowners who are staying here, and if this bill passes, could possibly very well get kicked out of their homes.
It's not like the only people that's receiving assistance is going to tear up your property. Absolutely not. You have people that work a 9 to 5 that will get in, won't pay bills, tear your property up.
We did reach out to all three sponsors of this bill and have not heard back. Many House reps who voted for House Bill 2385 also were against eviction moratoriums during the pandemic. If the bill passes the Senate floor, it would go to the desk of the governor.
Who will probably sign it because he's an evil fucking version of Augustus Mayhew from The Grinch. We need a revolution. Honestly, all these people complaining about the staff cuts decision and saying that they are going to leave over it galvanizes me to think that DSA is the place to be. So yeah, there's a bit of a struggle within DSA because of the NPC and the proposal to lay off, I believe, 40% of our paid staff. And like, I mean, there's good arguments being made on both sides, but I'm a Maoist. So, like, I'm not a fan of, like, huge conglomerations of staff. I do understand that DSA staff, like, does a lot of shit that is, that's necessary. But, I mean, cuts are going to be made. Personally, if I were on the NPC, I would have voted to slash or do away with stipends. Like, I have a pretty decent income. I don't need a fucking stipend. That work, like, in a revolutionary organization, I'm of the opinion that all of your funding should be going to growing the organization, serving the people, and organizing the people. We need to be spending money on programs that teach people how to organize their apartment buildings to combat shit like that atrocious House bill that I just talked about. Like, all of our money needs to be going to organizing. Like, we shouldn't have huge amounts of staff. But again, arguments are being made on both sides. I'm reading this book called I think it's Simply the Blues. It's Mesro. He was like an old school jazz man from the 20s. And no, Really the Blues. That's the title of it. And it is funny as fuck. This guy was basically like Rachel Dolezal 100 years before. He's this Jewish dude from Chicago who basically like jumped full force into the black community. Like, he was literally registered as black on his draft registration for World War II. When he was a kid, he spent a lot of time getting in trouble, going to Pontiac Reformatory, basically a lot of stuff. And this guy wasn't from a poor family. I did not hear that Rooster Teeth is closing down. A lot of memories. But yeah, this book is fucking hilarious. They also call him the Muggles King because Muggles is an ancient term for cannabis, and he was a big fan of cannabis. He actually like talks about the difference between jazz that you make when you're high on cannabis and jazz that you make when you're drunk. He doesn't like drunk jazz musicians because he thinks that their music sounds evil, but it's a good light read. King Kong, that's basically a term for old hooch that people used to make in their apartments in Harlem. And he was an opium addict for a while, so he was hopped up out of his mind laying in the basement when the guys who were making this hooch blew the roof off the apartment building he was staying in. So good times. Mohammed Hussam Muqdad died today due to a malfunction in the parachutes of aid dropped in northern Gaza. Yeah, we live in an evil cartoon because all of this aid that Biden is talking about, apparently some of the parachutes are failing to deploy. So this aid, which is being dropped by planes from very high up, is landing full force on the ground in Gaza and killing people. In tune with the theme of fuck landlords, these are two landlords. Rental property number 1 pays for our vacations. Rental property number 2 pays for our personal houses mortgage. Rental property number 3 pays for our groceries. Rental property number 4 pays for our vehicles. Now, rental properties are tenants, and so on. Have assets, aka other people, pay for your liabilities, aka living costs. It's a cheat code to a stress-free life. No, it's not. It's a stress-free life for you. It's a stressful life for your tenants. And when your tenants get together and snick your head with the guillotine, it's going to be a stressful end of life for you. 3 things a Frenchman hates: a clergyman, a soldier, and a cop. Palestine Action is like the vanguard of the non-Palestinian Western resistance. Look at this. This is Lord Balfour, who played a major role in fucking up Palestine in the first place. And activists from Pal Action did this to his picture at, I believe this was at Oxford University in the UK. Fuck him. Fuck his stupid picture. Fuck Oxford. This was Cambridge. Close enough. Oxbridge. Major protest in NYPD, and the cops couldn't restrain themselves. They had to engage in brutality. These people are getting ready to go on a subway to leave the protest, and this is what the cops decided to do. Again, this is senseless. I'm waiting for the National Guard to just start firing rounds into the air. And why do you need, at least I counted like 9 or 10 cops. Why do you need all of these? Why do you need all of these people to take down one person? And I saw they also knocked a person out. It looked like a little girl or a teenager. They knocked this kid out. Like, why? They just jumped. They just waded into this crowd and started throwing punches. Like, these people are becoming more and more evil and brutal by the day. The Strategic Response Group, that is totally not dystopian sounding. Ooh, Giordano.
Move back! Move back!
This guy is a U.S. soldier. And that is the crown of the Holy Roman Empire. And I guess he raided a castle in Germany where this was being kept. And he said, you know what? I'm the Holy Roman Empire now. Holy Roman Emperor. Some other banger images. We the Holy Roman Empire. Islam, the religion of peace, and apparently it has killed a heck of a lot of people, according to this page that has since been deleted. 270 million Jews it was supposed to have killed. I didn't know that's 270 million Jews even existed throughout the course of history. I think a Jewish comrade told me that the largest number existed shortly before the Holocaust, which was like 17 million. This is where that kid gets knocked out, and they're more concerned about handcuffing them. I don't assume anybody's gender, not on International Working Women's Day, but they were more concerned about handcuffing this person and getting them medical aid. They literally waded into the crowd, throwing fists aplenty, and knocked this person to the ground. Look at this person. This person could be seriously injured or even dead, and they're concerned about what they're paid to do, repress. How evil do you have to be to put handcuffs on an unconscious person? Guy on the mess sub just keeps posting himself, stealing DoorDash orders all the time, and everyone keeps getting super mad at him, but he just keeps grinding. Your fucking bum, return it as someone else's. Oh, God. The most beloved American liberal president actually defeated Hitler. No, he incarcerated 120,000 Japanese Americans in concentration camps. His wife, Eleanor, was actually more progressive than he was. I'm also pretty assured from my historical study that Eleanor Roosevelt was a secret or maybe even open lesbian. I mean, how easy is it to fuck a guy that has polio, myelitis? But yeah, I'm pretty sure that she was a lesbian. But she was far more progressive. Like all of the progressive shit that we associate with FDR actually in major part came from Eleanor. That is a historical fact. My health is quite good, but Marx will eventually invite me to visit him. When those of our generation die, it is very likely that revisionism will come about. We still have some breath. Let us give a bit of a hard time to the restoration of capitalism. This was Mao before the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution. It was actually revolutionaries of his generation that helped to restore capitalism. So Donald Trump posted this. The Biden-Harris campaign has been endorsed by Vladimir Putin. MAGA communists are on self-moored watch. I had a pizza today, and it was very good, like I said, but comrades did not waste any time memeing it. Stop, don't look at it. Look at me. Bourgeois decadence is temporary. All KFC menu items are inherently reactionary. Nothing is inherently anything. I mean, last I checked, KFC was the fuel of the proletariat. I much prefer Popeyes, but I've heard people talking about this thing, and I simply had to get one. The BRG eating questionable shit arc continues. Yellow Peril Tactical says that today is International Working Women's Day. We are not free until our revolutionary organizations take a stand against gender violence. Not until your so-called progressive boyfriend does these issues without being asked. Not until we stop striving for #girlboss. And don't pick. Some of the aid boxes that were dropped on Gaza today did not even have a parachute, hence them killing people. Yeah, that's extremely dangerous. That is not how you carry out an airdrop. I've never carried out an airdrop before, but if I did, I would not do it this way. Just willy-nilly dumping shit at high speed out of the fucking cargo hatch of my fucking plane. Here you go, fuckers, eat up. Yeah. We live in an evil cartoon. Socialists nowadays, sign up for solidarity dues. How dare you? Don't touch that. Don't cut that. Our revolutionary ancestors robbed banks. The most notorious example was the 1907 Tiflis bank robbery, also known as the Erevansky Square appropriation. It was an armed robbery on June 26, 1907, in the city of Tiflis, present-day Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia. A Bolshevik group expropriated, aka ganked, a bank cash shipment to fund their revolutionary activities. The robbers attacked a bank stagecoach and the surrounding police and soldiers using bombs and guns while the stagecoach was transporting money through Erevansky Square. It was organized by Vladimir Lenin, Maxim Litvinov, Leonid Trasin, Alexander Boltanov, and your boy Joseph Stalin. You also had Camo, who is like a legend of his own. He even scared the shit out of Lenin. I gotta read to you about this guy. Yes, I'm doing the fucking weirdo Destiny thing and reading off Wikipedia. Bear with me. Simon Arshaki Ter-Petrosyan, better known by his nom de guerre of Camo. You just look at that dude's picture and tell, like, he was not to be fucked with. So he participated in many bank robberies. This was done with Lenin's approval, but of course Lenin was not going around robbing banks. He left that to his shooters. But yeah, the Bolsheviks ate in large part because of scary motherfuckers like Camo. Camo, after his release from prison and the seizing of power by the Bolsheviks, seemed bored with his new life outside of prison. If a person is bored by not being in prison, stay fuck away from them. Stalin introduced him to Lenin as the old bank robber terrorist of the Caucasus. He paced the halls of the Kremlin until he was allowed to create his own band of men who would help raid money on the other side of the Eastern Front to support the country. Having been given permission to create his own gang, Camo would test all of his new members to make sure that they were up to the task. Camo would test his new recruits by taking them to a forest clearing, and he would have them be attacked by fake white army members. The royalists, the people who wanted to bring the Tsar back, or the people who just wanted to fuck with the Bolsheviks. He would then have these people be bound to a tree, and then they would be put to a fake execution to test their courage. He also ripped the dude's heart out when he found out that he was a traitor. Yeah. And he also scared Lenin so much that Lenin was like, yeah, don't bring this guy around me anymore. He doesn't have all his cookies in his box. New reading after I finish Mez's biography. Tip of the Spear, Black Radicalism, Prison Repression, and the Long Attica Revolt by Orasami Burton. I've heard good things about it. And here's a cute little picture. I love how, like, various cultures adopt revolutionary figures to their own liking. Like, you got Black Marx, you got Black Engels, you got Black Lenin. I'm Black Mao. The National Guard is in the subway. Now what? They're going to fuck around and shoot somebody. That's what's going to happen. Anarchists are annoying. Yes, because Marxists who spend most of their time arguing over dead people, writing useless masturbatory trash, and making excuses for objectively fucked up and stupid shit that our predecessors have done just because they rocked a hammer and sickle in the flag, totally aren't annoying. We love to harp on the failures of the anarchists, but look at where our experiments are. The USSR imploded in on itself, and China has gone back to capitalism. It's only the Maoists who keep the red flag flying, and the revisionists call us red anarchists. Maybe we should embrace the title. Staff this, staff that. One of you fuckers stole my staff of power. You need to give it back before you make Yellowstone blow up. chasing AOC out of a movie theater for not using the word genocide. While said movie theater is located in a district represented by Daniel S. Goldman, who received money from the pro-Israel America PAC, is just fucking wild. The left is eating itself alive. I don't consider AOC a part of the left. I don't. Like, how the fuck are you a leftist? Okay, how the fuck are you a leftist and you don't call an obvious genocide a genocide? You're not a leftist. You're not a leftist. This is the Puerto Rican Nancy Pelosi for millennials. AOC is actually helping Palestinians. How? What has she concretely done to help Palestinians beyond some ineffectual posturing here and there and going on national television to beautify genocide? Like, what has she done? She's done absolutely fucking nothing. I'm literally ashamed of her as a DSA member. This is why we need to be able to expel people. George Santos announces he's running for Congress again. He's a fuck. His politics are trash. But, like, you can't keep a queen down. You can't keep a queen down. Like, at all times, we need a messy-ass gay dude, a messy-ass flame queen in Congress. Only Maoists get to do this. This is that trot group I was talking about last week, the Revolutionary Communist Party. They even stole RCP's name. If this was 1978, like, the Revcoms would rock their shit with tire chains and sledgehammers, man. They used to throw down back in the day. They haven't always been a sad group of pathetic old men.
To America.
Oh. I was able to watch like 3 minutes of this shit last night. Look at this. You got this fucking twink over here. You've got fucking Ghoul Daddy, and you've got this synth.
Killing thousands of children. This bill would save lives and bring order to the border. It will also give me and any new president new emergency authority to temporarily shut down the border when the number of migrants at the border is over.
This guy sounds like Trump. He literally sounds like Trump. This is the guy that we're supposed to vote for to stop Trump. Like, how tangibly is this guy any different? He isn't. Not in any way that matters.
Overwhelming. The Border Patrol Union has endorsed this bill. The Federal Chamber of Commerce is, yeah. You're saying low. Look at the facts. I know you know how to read.
Bold of you to assume that an American congressperson knows how to read.
I believe that given the opportunity for a majority in the House and Senate would endorse the bill as well, a majority right now. But unfortunately,
I just can't do Kamala Harris. That dead, soulless look in her eyes. Like, this is a woman who would happily destroy human civilization as we know it. Like, she has that soulless, dead look that's usually only seen in white people.
Politics has derailed this bill so far. I'm told my predecessor called members of Congress in the Senate to demand they block the bill. He feels political win. He viewed it as would be a political win for me and a political loser for him. It's not about him. It's not about me. I'd be a winner, not really.
I'd be a winner, not really. What the fuck did he say?
Really. Not really. Winner, not really.
Is he arguing with a single person down in the... This guy is cooked. This guy's cooked. Oh my God, look at that tacky shit. She needs a gay friend. She needs a gay friend. Oh my God, he's arguing with MTG.
Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal.
This is Trump. This is fucking Trump.
That's right. But how many of thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents,
Thousands of people have been killed, but this is Trump. This is Trump. There is no real difference between this guy and Trump. Do not vote in November, because either way, you're going to be handed a shit sandwich.
I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself. I understand.
Why would you turn the death of your children into fucking political hate? This man has no shame.
But look, if we change the dynamic at the border, people pay these smugglers $8,000 to get across the border because they know if they get by and let into the country, it's 6 to 8 years before they have a hearing.
It's pathetic. What are your top 5 all-time...
Smuggling fentanyl into America.
Shut up, imbecile. What are my top 5 all-time essential radical history books? Black Jacobins, False Nationalism, False Internationalism, Gerald Horne's The Counter-Revolution of 1776, Black Reconstruction, and Broken Heart of America. The last one is about my city. No one is illegal on stolen land. He did not just say illegal. He brought up a picture of a woman killed by an illegal to fearmonger and dehumanize migrants to do PR for his fascist bipartisan border bill. We live in hell. Will Aaron Bushnell's death trigger an anarchism witch hunt? Senator Tom Cotton, this is an evil-sounding name. Senator Tom Cotton demands the Pentagon root out leftist extremism, which is totally a problem in the United States military. Right-wing extremism is a bigger problem in the United States military. Like, name the last time that a leftist in this country blew something up. You'd have to go back to the fucking 1980s. Back in the day, yeah, we went hard. But now we only hurt ourselves. That's our radical forms of protest. No, I'm not shitting on what Comrade Bushnell did, but like, no, communists don't throw down like we used to. We don't. So you're talking about left-wing extremism. Like, why don't you go root out the fucking Timothy McVeighs? Like Adam Waffen had people who are on active duty military service. Tom Cotton, Republican of Arkansas, former Army officer and a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, sent a letter to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin asking why and how the Pentagon could tolerate an airman like Bushnell in its ranks. Calling his death an act of horrific violence that was in support of a terrorist group, Cotton goes on to ask about the Defense Department's internal efforts to address extremism and whether Bushnell was ever identified as exhibiting extremist views or behavior. So are we going to be doing political witch hunts of everybody that's in the United States military now? Studies show that support for extremism is similar or even lower among veterans in the general population. Extremism in the active duty military has become an obsession of the Washington brass since Jan 6th. Soon after taking office, the new Secretary of Defense, Austin, a retired Army general, directed the military to conduct an all-hands stand-down to address extremism in the ranks, commissioning a number of panels and studies to evaluate right nationalism and neo-Nazi support among service members. Since 2019, the FBI has used 5 threat categories to describe domestic terrorism: racially or ethnically motivated violent extremism, anti-government or anti-authority violent extremism, agave, animal rights or extreme environmental violent extremism, abortion-related violent extremism, and all other domestic terrorism threats, which is defined as furtherance of political and or social agendas which are not otherwise exclusively defined under one of the other threat categories. This is why I always tell people to be like extremely careful about what you say on the internet, because like these people are watching. These people are watching. Like, this shit's not funny. They will literally come and pick you up and question you. Of course, you don't have to say anything to them. You don't have to even open your door for them. It's still like, this shit's not a fucking joke. The harder they look for anarchism, the less of it they're going to find. Like, these people don't even know what anarchism is. Actually, I take it back, because they do read anarchist and communist literature. They should have let the protesters in last night and let them give the State of the Union. And that would have made a lot more sense. Let's see what's popping in Haiti. Haiti PM Ariel Henry's U.S.-backed government faces gang uprising. I hate that term, gang. As UN set to deploy Kenyan police. I thought they were pulling them back.
Haiti, where Port-au-Prince's international airport is reportedly under siege by armed gangs as Haiti is under a state of emergency. Tens of thousands have been displaced across the Haitian capital as they flee rising violence.
The armed gangs forced us to leave our homes. They destroyed our houses, and we're on the streets.
Over the weekend, Haiti's powerful gangs freed thousands from Haiti's largest prisons. The gang...
Can you imagine how, like, fucked up it would be to go to prison in Haiti? I would rather, like, not be alive anymore.
Federation known as leader, known as Barbecue, claim responsibility and it's...
Barbecue. Never fuck with a dude named Barbecue. Would you want to throw down? Would you want to fight with an organization led by a guy named Barbecue?
Calling for the...
What do I think of anarcho-syndicalism? I mean, I think it has its merits. I don't think that it's a, like, way to establish a worldwide communist order, but I think it has its merits. Like, in every stream of revolutionary theory, save for Trotskyism, has merit. It has merit, and we should be able to incorporate lessons and useful things from all of these ideologies, except Trotskyism, to see through a successful revolutionary project.
Ousting of unelected Prime Minister Ariel Henry. Gang members are reportedly...
Ariel Henry. I never could get that fucking swallow thing that French people do. Henry.
Uniting to bring down Haiti's de facto Prime Minister, Henry, who's yet to return to Haiti since he traveled to Kenya last week to discuss a deal to send about 1,000 Kenyan police to lead a UN peacekeeping...
They literally chased his ass out the country?
...force. The Kenyan High Court in January ruled the plan unconstitutional. For more, we're joined by three guests. In Nairobi, Otiende Omolo is a Kenyan parliamentarian who opposes the police deployment to Haiti. In Washington, D.C., Jake Johnston is with us. He runs Haiti Relief and Reconstruction Watch blog for the Center for Economic and Policy Research, author of the new book, Aid State, Elite Panic, Disaster Capitalism, and the Battle to Control Haiti.
I need to get that one.
But first, we go to...
These fucking YouTube videos and motherfuckers on Twitter are like ensuring that I spend an inordinate amount of money on books.
Port-au-Prince, Haiti's capital, to speak with Monique Kleska, a Haitian pro-democracy advocate who worked for many years with UNICEF and the United Nations overall, worked there for 15 years. We welcome you back to Democracy Now!, Monique Kleska. Can you talk about what's happening on the ground as the images we see are the airport overrun and in the streets of Port-au-Prince, people fleeing for their lives?
Do you have any idea how fucking hard it would be to get into Haiti and bring all of your equipment into that country without it getting fucking robbed and conduct an interview?
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you. It is a desolation that we are feeling. It is a terror that we are living, and it's horrifying what we are going through. Since last Thursday, there has been an assault on different neighborhoods, different areas, and state institutions. And yesterday was the big assault then on the airport. So people cannot travel, people are scared, people cannot go to work. And on Saturday night, it was the jail. There was a massive assault on the Port-au-Prince jail, and there are about 4,000 prisoners who are out in the streets somewhere, and among them, presumed rapists, murderers, kidnappers, etc. So we are terrorized. We're terrorized in our homes. But what I want to say is that, and it's important to say that, we have been terrorized for the last 30 months of Ariel Henry's government. There have been more massacres under Ariel Henry than there were under Jovenel Moïse that had 13 massacres. So we have been in a state of terror, horror. Our people are dying, our sisters are being raped, our children are going to sleep hungry for the last 30 months or more. So we are under a regime of bandits, bandits in ties, bandits in shorts. But bottom line, we are hostages of about maybe 3,000 men who are running the country either in gangs with ties or in white shirts or in gangs in the slum areas, roaming the streets and terrifying us. That is the situation we are living right now in Haiti. And let's be clear, the Biden administration has its hands in the bloodshed because we, at least from the Montana Accord, have been saying since August 2021, 2.5 years ago, that this must stop. We have an alternative solution. We must get those criminals out of offices. We must get those criminals out. So the Biden administration is paying the price because there is no doubt in my mind that they bear a huge responsibility along with the UN, along with France, along with Canada. But the Biden administration has its knee.
I finally let y'all talk me into playing Crusader Kings 3. I did the tutorial and played like a pretty quick half-assed game last night just to get like in tune with it. But it's pretty dope. I like it. Sheikh Diop, who I read last week, I read his book Pre-Colonial Black Africa, said that black people are natural aristocrats. So I think I'm developing a knack for this game. But I'm going to keep this playing in the background.
On our necks, because we would not be here if they had listened to us Haitians who have said for a long time, this is unacceptable. This criminal regime is unacceptable to us Haitians. Throughout Haiti, Haitians have demonstrated and said Ariel Henry must go. So he can stay in Kenya, he can stay in Washington, wherever he is, he can stay there. But we need new blood in the governance system of Haiti. We need visionaries, men and women who can provide for Haitians.
Monique Glasscott, you focused. You said on the criminals in white suits or in white shirts, but the focus in this in most of the media coverage about Haiti here in the United States is on the gangs in the street. Are all these gangs the same, or are there distinctions between them? Because some people claim that some are more political than some of the other gangs, especially, for instance, this Jimmy Cherizet and his group. How do you regard this situation on the street with these gangs?
I am here to say that the government, there are UN reports that have said that the former president of Haiti actually formed the gang and armed gangs. So since 2011, it has been a criminal regime that has armed the gangs. And now perhaps the gangs have felt stronger and they are going about in their, whatever it is, their criminal business. But the point I am making is the government, people in power, president, prime ministers, ministers. There is even a document from the Yale Law School Clinic and human rights organization in Haiti that said it's a crime against humanity under Jovenel Moïse, the massacre in La Saline, where 71 people were killed. So we are talking about a construct. This is not something that happened out of the blue. These government officers, as well as prime minister, president, and some economic oligarchs, have financed the gangs, they have armed the gangs, they have given them even contracts to distribute food in neighborhoods, etc. So we must be clear that the gangs have been instrumentalized in the past, created, armed to terrorize us so that they could keep power. So now the gangs have gained their
I'm not making
independence,
my
and
character
maybe they
Yakub.
have
What's wrong
their
with you?
political whatever. But I think the main culprit here is government that started to finance them, senators. A lot of them are under sanction for arming the gangs or for giving them money. A lot of the huge economic players in Haiti are also under sanction. Even a bank director is under sanction, even though it is not the United Nations sanctions. So let's be clear about this. There is no doubt in my mind about this, that the gangs with white shirts or whatever shirts and ties are also extremely involved, not only involved, but responsible for this. And the United States knows this. We have told this to Assistant Secretary Brian Nichols. We have told this to Barbara Feinstein at the State Department. We have told this to Dan Erickson, who is now at the White House. We have told this. The Biden administration knows this, that it is a criminal regime, that it is financing, that it is supporting, that it is helping to kill us. And we say it's enough. We need new leadership in Haiti. We need different governance that respects our human rights. This is unattainable. This is unbelievable. It is inadmissible. We do not want this, and we are into resistance mode. We are saying no. We do not want this, and the Biden administration will pay for some of this, because there are 1.5 million Haitian in the United States, and they are beginning to threaten not to vote for Biden. So elections are decided by a few thousand votes. So 1.5 million Haitians, that means a lot. They must reverse course. They must.
Yeah, I'd like to bring in Jake Johnston, also the author of the new book, Aid State, Elite Panic, Disaster Capitalism, and the Battle to Control Haiti. Welcome, Jake Johnston. Your assessment of the situation right now in Haiti and the steps that need to be taken to restore some sense of safety to the population and an actual functioning government?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I mean, I think when we look at Haiti, we have to understand some of the roots of what we're seeing today. And at the heart of this is a broken social contract, a state that is no longer representative of or accountable to the population. And that has created the dynamics, the broader situation that has allowed this situation to spiral the way it has. And so when you look at how to address that, you have to start there. And I'd echo Monique's calls to focus on the political environment, right? We can't divorce insecurity from the political environment. And you look at what's happening now. I mean, this doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? The armed groups don't seize control, don't take this without at least some willingness or abandonment on the part of police hierarchy and government authorities. And so to begin with, there has to be an acceptance of responsibility. I think one of the most shocking things over the last 4 or 5 days has been the absolute total silence from the government, right? Ariel Henry is not even in the country. The state of emergency was announced by the Minister of Finance in a press release. And so there's really just, again, a total abandonment on the part of state authorities. And like Monique said, this is not a crisis entirely created in Haiti or by Haitians, right? We have to understand that this has been a long time coming, and it's been a process stoked and perpetuated by the international community, and namely the United States. We could go back to Haiti's history, to its founding, first independent black republic, successful slave revolt, the U.S. occupation, but we don't need to go back that far into history to see this history of intervention. The 2004 coup d'etat, the overturning of election results in 2010, and the United States' insistence on moving forward with this current government against all odds and against the very clear expression from the Haitian people. And so unless that begins to change, it's extremely unlikely that the situation on the ground meaningfully improves.
Jake, I wanted to ask you about the role of former President Jean-Bertrand Aristide, obviously removed from office twice, but at the same time, there are reports that he has had some kind of an accommodation with Ariel Henry, and that his family, Lavalas, is basically on the sidelines these days. Could you What information do you have about that?
I think you have to, it's a murky political environment right now. There have been political negotiations and horse trading happening for 2 years. And I think, that breakdown, the inability of Ariel Henry to actually come together and reach an accord and meaningfully balance power with alternatives, right? Like, there's not a single elected official in the country. Power has been consolidated under one unelected person who's had questions over his legitimacy from the moment he stepped foot in the premature, right, in the prime minister's office. And so, of course, many political parties are trying to push, trying to prod. I think Femi Lavalas has certainly been one of them. But where this actually ends up, I think everyone is clear. And I think in a lot of ways what we're seeing right now is a fight between protecting the status quo, trying to put the train back on the track, so to speak, or actually building something new, right, refounding the state and rebuilding that social contract that has been broken.
I wanted to go to Jimmy Charizier, known as Barbecue, speaking Friday.
We ask the Haitian National Police and the military to take responsibility and arrest Ariel Henry. Once again, the population is not our enemy. The armed groups are not your enemy. You arrest Ariel Henry for the country's liberation. These weapons that we have are not here to hurt our brothers who come from the same milieu as us. The poor take the streets and they trust us. These weapons are our symbol of freedom. With these weapons, we will liberate the country, and these weapons will change the country.
Monique Leska, Barbecue, or Charizier, is the leader of the gang federation G9 Family and Allies. They've joined together all the gangs. This is significant, and he's saying that they won't let Henry back into the country. Can you talk about the significance of this alliance and who he is?
Well, I don't want to talk about who he is because I think he said who he is and he showed who he is. And he has been showing who he is for years now. What I want to say, though, is that I don't believe in violence. And the Montana movement I'm a part of does not believe in violence, and we condone violence. Guns cannot be symbols of a freedom. Guns cannot be that. So another question is, where are they getting all of these ammunitions? Where are they getting all these guns? M14, M1, Kalashnikov, etc. Where are they getting them?
America.
So I think it is important to say that the guns are coming mostly from Miami, from the United States. Some are coming from the Dominican Republic through the Dominican Republic, but there. So I think that is the central issue there, in terms of where are the armed groups, because they say they are armed groups and they claim that and they have their project, but where is it coming from? And what I'm saying is we have been we have been kidnapped, we have been killed, our sisters are raped. So let's be very clear about this. The gangs, I cannot say much more about the gangs other than what their actions have shown. What I know, though, is that in Haiti, they have been supported by the governors of Haiti, the leaders like Ariel Henry. And the social justice agenda that we have, people are not eating, people don't have health care, people are not going to school, is extremely important, and that's what must be put forward. The issue of youth in Haiti, 65% of the Haitian population is under 24 years old. So when you hold a gun next to them, as opposed to feeding them, then very often they might go the other way towards the gun. And what we need to do is have a leadership, men and women, who can say that we will respect that social contract that Jake Johnson is talking about to remove this massive inequality, respect the human rights of Haitians, and feed Haitians, give them health care, particularly the youth. 2/3 of the country is under 24 years old. We need to focus on them rather than focus on the gangs and everything else. And that's why we need to break what is right now a government that is killing us, literally and figuratively, with the help of the UN, and the United States, the Biden administration. So that is the focus for me.
I wanted to bring in Otiende Omolo, who is a Kenyan MP, member of parliament. Ariel Henry was last seen in Kenya sealing the deal of sending 1,000 Kenyan police as part of a UN force, peacekeeping force, to Haiti. And yet, the Kenyan High Court in January ruled the plan was unconstitutional. You had a group of Kenyans go to Haiti to investigate the situation. They came back almost immediately within hours, then went to Washington to work out the deal. And one of those Kenyans, 39-year-old Nyamato Walter, was found dead in his Washington, D.C. hotel room. Otiende Omolo, can you talk about the plan? And are 1,000 Kenyan police being sent to Haiti?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. The sense in Kenya is that the idea of sending 1,000 police officers to Haiti is unpopular. That is the general sense. But I would say the move is wrong in at least 4 fronts. First, it is legally unfounded. Secondly, the process itself is flawed. Thirdly, the rationale is quite shaky. And more importantly, the arrangements that seem to have been put in place are weak. In the first place, yes, the court in Kenya declared the process unconstitutional and improper. And that declaration was based on 2 things. First, it's based on the idea that we have not had a bilateral treaty with Haiti, and we have not had any reciprocation arrangements by way of an agreement. It is that agreement that was now sought to be had last week, which has still not been perfected. But it still leaves a lot of issues that are pending. The biggest issue is that under our constitution and our laws, our police force cannot be deployed abroad. Our police force is national. They can only operate within the Kenyan borders. On the contrary, it is the armed forces that can be deployed. For some strange reason, they have chosen to deploy the police, which still remains against the constitution. We have a constitution that clearly distinguishes between the police service and the defense forces. Only the forces can be deployed with the approval of the National Assembly. As we speak, and for reasons that I think Monique has already captured, we do not have any bilateral treaty arrangement between Kenya and Haiti. I think primarily also because there's no legitimate legislature or executive that can enter into that arrangement. And so the idea of the reciprocation agreement that was apparently entered last week or was being negotiated is still one that is not well-founded in the Constitution. But beyond that, we have questioned the process. The process is flawed from the one go. There was no request to this country to send any forces or any police officers. Instead, it is clear that our government offered, and immediately the offer was made. The President of the United States welcomed that move, and it is only thereafter that there was a move to bring the issue to the UN Security Council, by way of ratification. As I understand it, there was a general resolution which invited support. It was not specific to Kenya. It invited those who can, support to show support. It came at a time that there were active court orders which have still not been set aside. So the entire move is one that flies in the face of the rule of law. Thirdly, we keep saying that we have thousands of armed forces, personnel who are in the barracks, and we have police officers who are not even enough to man this country. As you may have seen in the papers, there are pockets of insurrections in this country and deaths. They're in a place called Baringo. People were killed 3 days ago in a place called Samburu, even as late as yesterday. And so our argument is you cannot deploy the police abroad when you need the police in Kenya. In terms of priority, and I think Monique said some things that are very profound in terms of history, we think that in terms of assistance, There are countries that carry the higher burden of intervention than Kenya. Countries that have had historical involvement with Haiti, countries that have much more superior defense forces that could intervene, countries that have been seen to intervene elsewhere. And why they would then backpass and ask Kenya to send 1,000 police officers is what we are questioning. It just amounts to backpassing. From what Monique described and what we've seen in the media, 1,000 police officers, even if there were 5,000, cannot bring any sanity to the situation. So we are very worried that the 1,000 police officers sent to Haiti, we are not sure where they are right now anyway, but we fear that...
Mr. Amoyo, if I can, I just wanted to get in Jake Johnston because we're almost running out of time. And Jake, I wanted to have your last comments. This whole issue of whether a peaceful change in Haiti can occur or whether the failure of the government, the threat of new international intervention, and the desperate situation of the Haitian people really does call for some kind of a armed revolt by the people of Haiti. Your sense of that?
Well, look, I mean, I think, in regard to the Kenya mission, right, we have to understand that there was United Nations peacekeepers following the 2004 coup d'etat that were in the country for 13 years at a cost of over $7 billion. And so we're now talking about doing this, but the situation on the ground is a reminder of the failure of those efforts, right? We're talking about a situation now in Haiti where police can't even get paid, and we're shocked that they're not putting up more resistance. So I think, the solutions are local. They can be local, right? International actors have a role to play in supporting actual local solutions rather than undermining local institutions and local organizations, which has been a pattern repeated ad nauseum over Haiti's history, right? So I think there can be a peaceful resolution, but it's going to take change in policies both in Haiti and especially in the United States as well.
Jake Johnston, we want to thank you for being with us. Runs the Haiti Relief and Reconstruction Watch blog for Center for Economic and Policy Research. His new book, Aid State, Elite Panic, Disaster Capitalism and the Battle to Control Haiti. We want to thank Monique Kleska, Haitian pro-democracy advocate, speaking to us from Port-au-Prince, and Otiende Omolo, Kenyan Member of Parliament, speaking to us from Nairobi.
So, yeah, that was wild. But, like, everything that's going wrong in Haiti is because of the meddling of the United States. Like, the Haitian activist was asking, where the fuck are all these guns come from? The United States. The United States is the world's biggest fucking gun store. And people talk about Haiti like it's a failed state, and it is a failed state. Like, you literally have gangs that are in the process of taking over the fucking country because a destabilized Haiti, a destabilized third world in general, is not in the benefit of the United States. Well, it is in the benefit of the United States. A strong Haiti, a strong third world, is not in the benefit of France. It's not in the benefit of the rest of the EU countries. It's not in the benefit of the United States because these strong countries are able to tell you to go fuck yourself. But a destabilized, weak third world, a destabilized and weak Haiti is it can't do that. It can't even manage its own affairs. Its own people are suffering. People are trying to flee the country. Yeah, just like Mexico, the U.S. sells weapons to cartels, and it plays one cartel, one group off another, and it profits from the existence and proliferation of these armed groups. It can bribe and pay one to do something to another or do something to a reformist progressive politician that rightly denounces the United States. It doesn't want the third world to progress. It wants the third world to remain fucked up forever so that it can continue to exploit its people and its natural resources.
Donald Trump is the man for the job. I love Donald Trump. The 4 years he was in office were great.
What do you call a Muslim Uncle Tom?
The past couple of years with Biden were terrible. And then as you can see, I'm wearing my my traditional clothing. I'm from Yemen originally. I was born in America, but I'm from Yemen. This is how we dress back then. We a lot of the Arabs actually used to support the Democratic Party. And so all the weird shit that's been going on. There's a lot of I can't say shit.
Yeah, try and keep it.
A lot of the weird stuff that's been going on and supported by Biden. Biden's dead. He can't walk. He can't talk. So really, if it was anybody against Biden, I'd vote for them anyway. But I'm a big Donald Trump supporter. He's a great man. He's a gangster. So any of the other countries know.
Why would you want a gangster to run your fucking country? This is like a lot of the lumpen, black, Arab, whatever, like they support Trump because they see themselves as Trump, a mindless money making machine. Like his sole purpose in life is to profit at other people's expense. Like a lot of lumpen proletarians relate to that. That's why the lumpen proletariat is a dangerous class. Like they definitely have to be organized, but like at the end of the day, a hustler mentality is not all that revolutionary. If you see the revolution as just another hustle, you can't make revolution by hustling. You have to have a proletarian analysis of the world, and you have to have a proletarian relationship to the masses of people, not a parasitic relationship to the masses of people. Yes, he did say Arab. Ironically, that's how a lot of black people in St. Louis say it. I used to say it like that because before I knew better.
If Trump's in office, they're not acting up. With Biden, he's sleeping. I don't think anyone's really scared of him. See, he does say some crazy things. And for me, it doesn't bother me. Sometimes it's funny, but a lot of people, words matter to them. To me, it's your policy and what you're doing. You can say, I hate all you Muslims, this and that, whatever, and then you don't do the bad things. Then to me, it doesn't matter. You're just talking. You just want a certain crowd to vote for you. That's cool. It's all part of the game.
So you're not bothered when he says that he wants a ban on Muslims in this country?
No, because I don't think he actually believes that. He's very cool with the Saudis and the people in Abu Dhabi and stuff like that, and he's done a lot of business with them. So I think that's for a lot of his fan base that want that, because it sounds crazy. You can't ban a religion,
No, I know, but I mean, you're aligning yourself with that fan base that do want that seriously do want that. So you're voting for,
Well, there's always going to be different types of voters. So those people, no matter what he does, okay, let's say Trump did something really bad and bombed my country and was my home country, and was if he was actually doing stuff that I didn't like, I wouldn't want to vote for him. So they're going to vote for him no matter what. There's some of his supporters that no matter what,
yeah, he wants to be one of the good ones. Like, this guy has said horrible things about your people. He believes that you all are all fucking terrorists, and here you are making excuses for him. Again, what do you call a Muslim Uncle Tom?
Voting for Trump, whether he has bad policies or good. It's because of the crazy things he says. So I guess I am aligning myself with them, but I don't have the same views as them. I'm voting for him for policy strictly.
Is there anything he could do to lose your support?
If he were to go harder on Gaza, and if he were to, my parents came from the country of Yemen. They immigrated from Yemen. So if he was to do heavy bombing, or
you are from fucking Yemen, and you're, bruh. Thank God for the Houthis. Thank God for the Houthis, because you are not a good representative of your people at all.
Because he slowed down the bombing. Obama and Biden bombed Yemen very heavily, but because Obama said mashallah, he said an Arabic word, people supported him and thought he was with us. He really wasn't. He was bombing. He drone bombed Yemen more than any other president. So if he were to take crazy actions towards Yemen or Gaza, especially Gaza, because they really have no support, and they don't even have an army. They're just running around getting killed, So that'd make me not vote for him.
If Trump were to be convicted on any of the things that he's indicted for now, criminally, and not the civil case that just got adjudicated, would that change your mind at all?
No, not at all. And I mean, most of it is crap. Most of the stuff everything they're saying about him this wouldn't have been happening for someone else. They just want Trump out. So I don't believe any of the things they're saying, and most of the stuff they're doing has never been done before with other presidents that have done the same thing as him. I think he uplifts the people, and he makes America stronger. So I don't think he should be convicted of anything.
And what about aid to Israel?
Well, the aid to Israel, I don't think we should aid anybody until our border, until everything is taken care of in our country. And Israel's just blowing people up for no reason. I don't support them, obviously. I think Palestine should have their own state, and America's always going to support Israel, but right now they're just killing people for no reason, and they're killing too many people. I don't like it.
American policy is that they want a two-state solution. That's what they say there. What would you see as Donald Trump doing differently if he came in as far as Israel and Palestine?
I think he would. I think a lot of the foreign actors would be. He would make a deal with the Arab nations and with Israel to calm everything down, and hopefully start something where they can get their own state, instead of just being sleepy like Joe Biden and letting them do whatever the hell they want to do.
If Trump were to go to jail, they say that he could still serve as president. Would you rather have Trump in jail?
This is the guy obviously knows what he's talking about, but this just shows that the mixed consciousness of a lot of people leads them to come to some seriously fucked up conclusions. Also, Yemen does not have African slaves. So why are you telling that lie on those brave and heroic people?
Say about their country's war. We sometimes get a glimpse where settlers are blocking Atros from going into Gaza. However, whenever the media report on the Israeli point of view, they use quotes from official media-trained spokespeople who know what's palatable to a foreign audience.
As my colleague said.
And so Israel's campaign now is not only to defend ourselves,
if not through diplomatic means, then through the force of arms.
We will continue to distinguish between the Hamas terrorists and the civilian population who are not the target of our operation.
So we looked at some Hebrew language forums and chats to check the pulse of the Israeli populace. One prevalent genre of this is chats where people post extreme graphic images of dead and severely injured Palestinians purely for the rest of the users to react with laughing emojis. A lot of Palestinians posted here are older adults, women, and even children. Most of the posts are far too graphic and the messages far too explicit to show as examples. One of the few that doesn't show corpses is this one of a woman with a head injury and a mocking message about asking her for a drink at the bar. This is evening entertainment for the members to have a relaxing scroll through images of real-life dead bodies. It isn't some group of weirdos either. This one has over 126,000 subscribers. Others are more logistical. We gain access to a WhatsApp chat where settlers are coordinating about how to block food aid from entering Gaza. In this message, they're boasting about having blocked 1,000 food trucks in Kerem Shalom crossing into Gaza. In some messages, they post videos showing how they use children in these actions, breeding hate into the new generation. This is the reality of Israel today.
Ugh. Understanding Black Ivy, a revolt in style.
Derived from black men during the 20th century, who made a conscious decision to wear the pieces typically associated with upper Ivy League class elites in the US.
AKA me. Yeah, I rock the Ivy style. That's where a lot of the tweed and stuff comes from. I mean, the shit's dope. Classic American fashion. I also wear a lot of British shit. I'm really into Fred Perry. I think I've worn a few on stream. I need to get some more, but yeah, I like clothes, man.
The style.
It's not illegal in communism to have nice things.
Meant to subvert ideas that blacks were lesser or less than their white counterparts was exemplified by musicians, actors, politicians, athletes, and educators. Today, we're going to look at why I think Black Ivy is simultaneously one of the coolest and one of the most overlooked stylistic periods in American history. And I'm going to explain to you why I think Black Ivy is so important to the American fashion zeitgeist, to the fashion zeitgeist as a whole. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Drew. What it do? It's nice to meet you. Let's talk Black Ivy.
Like good God Almighty, Coca-Cola and the cowboy. Jazz is here to stay.
What is Black Ivy? Most of you have probably never heard this term or heard this stylistic genre, and I had neither up until about a year or so ago. Black Ivy is a modern term used to describe the way in which blacks in the US dressed during the 50s and 60s. I had a chance to sit down and talk with the author of the book Black Ivy, A Revolt in Style, Jason Jules, and this is what he had to say about describing the phrase or the term Black Ivy.
So when I wrote the book Black Ivy, it was really talking about the way in which clothing and Ivy League clothing in and of itself was adopted by civil rights activists. And people who are kind of agents of change. So there would be poets or jazz musicians or actors, these people who are basically agents of change.
Yeah.
And how they adopted that clothing and, in a sense, co-opted that clothing to their own ends. So essentially, that's what Black Ivy is about.
Black Ivy is a style derived from the idea that blacks in the US aimed to subvert ideas in America that they were lesser than their white counterparts. That's why Jason Jules calls Black Ivy a revolt in style. When I picked up Black Ivy at Drake's in Soho here in New York City, it was my goal to read the entirety of the book front to back, every single word that encapsulated the book, because I really wanted to immerse myself in this world and truly learn about what is Black Ivy. And as powerful as the imagery is in this book, the first line that's a part of the first passage of the book really stuck with me. It reads, "Style is about the freedom to be oneself, to authentically express oneself, and in doing so reject limitations imposed by others. A consciousness of style, in essence, emerges when one asserts one's right to self-definition and the right to take control of one's own identity." That is the essence of Black Ivy, the freedom to be oneself and to express oneself authentically. To me, Black Ivy embodies the ethos of expression in this sense. The men...
It actually reminds me of the, I believe we watched Paris is Burning on stream once. This reminds me a lot of the, like they had various categories when they had the balls. And this reminds me a lot of the, I believe it was called the executive category, where like people would wear clothes that Wall Street investment bankers would wear. And you had all these poor Black and Puerto Rican kids in New York who were wearing like J Press and Brooks Brothers and all of this other stuff. And in many cases, they got these clothes through shoplifting or hustling in some type of way. But either way, they were at this ball looking fresh. And like it shows, like Black people, the poorest people in the country, were still able to dress ourselves up, and in many cases rock this shit better than the people who could actually afford to buy it.
And women who took it upon themselves to use fashion as a way to revolt against the mainstream society did so through the clothes they wore. One of the most powerful thoughts I had throughout reading the book was imagining being a Black man in the 60s, putting on an incredibly fly looking suit or top or jacket, and looking this good, and still the society at large viewed me as less or as less than. When I look at these images of some of the most important, most famous Black Americans, you see both their disposition to be treated as equals, and you see their sublime couthness.
Also, what I realized in a kind of semi-biographical way, I guess, is that there is this idea that if a Black person is wearing that clothing and into that clothing, then it makes a lot these days, or at least in the recent past, there's this assumption that they're not as committed to, their Blackness as other people who wouldn't be wearing those clothes. The idea is that they're aspiring to the Ivy League lifestyle as opposed to their own personal journeys.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the reasons that I wanted to write the book and kind of storage relevant is that it's not really just about the past, it's about understanding, identity now, and the idea that we don't necessarily have to subscribe to what the mainstream tells us is, kind of consensually accepted as a Black appearance,
as
or a Black style.
Yeah, totally.
And we have to question where that comes from, if you know what I mean.
The clothing most associated with Black Ivy included a lot of traditional Ivy classics, from tweed blazers to seersucker tops, button-down collars, and wingtip shoes. Ivy style is similar in a lot of ways with what we would call modern prep or preppy styles today. The biggest difference between Black Ivy and Ivy is the flair that Blacks brought to the stylistic genre. Incorporating workwear fabrics like denim is one of the largest examples of how Blacks brought a different kind of flair to what Ivy was traditionally doing. Workwear being typically not associated with Ivy style until much, much later. In addition to that, the musical and cultural connotations with Black Ivy brought an entirely unique energy to the clothing that was not previously seen. Another one of my favorite examples in the book of how it explained the flair that blacks brought to Black Ivy in contrast to Ivy, American Ivy. The book talks specifically about the use of sunglasses as a subtle style cue used as a symbol for the rejection of the outside world. In Black Ivy, a revoltant style, it states, "The popularity of sunglasses here has a direct correlation to the beats and bebop generation. Wearing sunglasses outdoors, indoors, during the day, or night showed a kind of detachment, if not disdain for the outside world." When I flipped through the pages of Black Ivy, I observed a distinct, nonchalant coolness in the feel of a lot of the clothing being worn. To me, this is prevalent in a lot of the photos that we see from the 20th century. My favorite outfit in the entire book belongs to James Baldwin in this shearling coat. Not necessarily something that I would wear, but damn, James looks really, really good in this. One of the coolest things about Black Ivy, A Revoltant Style, the book, is being able to see all of these really famous and really noteworthy icons within the Black community have their style broken down meticulously. From the likes of Miles Davis to Sidney Poitier to Thelonious Monk and John Coltrane, I mean, the list goes on and on and on in this book. There are truly a lot of very, very cool nods and mentions and style inspirations and just things that you can look at as a result of just flipping through the book. I think holistically, personally, I was most drawn to Gordon Parks' style and his showcasing in the book. Also, Sonny Rollins and Sidney Poitier were a chef's kiss when it comes to how they were showcased as well. The skillfulness of the photography used to capture these men in this book is second to none. You really got a sense of what it felt like to wear these clothes all these years ago. Unofficially, Miles Davis seems to be the most important figurehead in this book. He is the cover of Black Ivy, and his style is one of the best representations of revolt. Not even that. Who, in your opinion, are some of the more pivotal agents of change that you decided to highlight? You and your partner decided to highlight in Black Ivy?
Miles Davis, definitely, like without any question, because he, number one, on the most kind of obvious level, he had an amazing style throughout his life and career. He saw the kind of the connection between all his creative aspects, from painting to clothing to music to performance. All of those things were like a conscious construct, and he was fully aware of what he was doing and unapologetic about it as well. And also because he came from a Black Ivy background. You know, his dad had a pig farm. His dad was super wealthy. You know, his dad was like a physician. So Miles knew about those clothes. Miles had no fear of and as he evolved, his style was always true to himself. There's a level of authenticity about him that continued as a through line. And again, his music was kind of fearless in the same respect. So I think for me, one of the most important people was Miles, and that's kind of why Graham and the publishers suggested that he be on the cover. And when we found that image, there was no question.
I have so many stories to tell about Miles Davis. And one of my favorite ones is
Jason would also state that the irony is that while many Black Ivyists adopted the style in order to be perceived as acceptable in the eyes of the mainstream, they instead managed to heighten the perceived differences by giving the style an edge and attitude that it would have otherwise lacked. I think it's important to note that those who were represented as Black Ivyists in the book don't encompass all of what Black Ivy is and what it was during the time period that it existed in. Black Ivy, from what I'm understanding, is about the reimagining of what it means to be Black in America. It is an example of self-determination by the Black community in an effort to show Blacks deserve equal treatment. Two of the most important examples in the book were the athletes Jason Jules decided to highlight. As someone who played sports in both high school and college, I've always felt that sports and fashion go hand in hand. And the archives of Black Ivy seem to agree with me on that. Muhammad Ali, one of the examples in the book, is a literal textbook example of Black Ivy. But one of the athletes that I had honestly not known much about was Arthur Ashe. Arthur Ashe was a promising black tennis player who dressed in black ivy and performed wonderfully in his sport. Extra side nugget about Arthur Ashe that I forgot to mention, Arthur became the first African American man to capture the US Open in 1968. That's huge. But Arthur Ashe was not allowed to become a member at the majority of the clubs he played at because of his race. For some reason, these sports stories resonate with me on such a deep level. And I think the biggest reason why they resonate with me so much is because they remind me of how far my forefathers and all of the blacks who sacrificed and put in time and went through really horrendous things, how much they went through to allow me to be in the position where I'm at, being able to talk to an audience of people from around the world because I extracted my confidence from these stories to play sports and then to go to college and then to make YouTube videos and try to be another example of hope and inspiration for other people's lives. Arthur Ashe is a great example of how far we've come as it pertains to rights, equality, and freedom of expression. And even if you're not African or of African American descent or black, there is a powerful lesson that can be applied to you as well. That lesson is, your worth is not defined by others' imposed ideas about you. Your worth is defined by what you believe about yourself and the value you bring to others around you. Let's get a word in for today's sponsor, Squarespace. Are you interested in making your very own website for a brand or creative project? Squarespace offers a comprehensive amount of features to help you create the website that you've always wanted. If you want to sell your products direct to consumer, or if you want to showcase your body of work, Squarespace makes it easy to do that and more. Currently, I'm using my Squarespace website as a hub for all of my content and as a way to direct those interested to my podcast and social media. If you need a design to help nudge you into creating your first website, this is your sign. Visit squarespace.com/DrewJoyner for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Let's get into the criticisms. One of the main criticisms of Black Ivy is that essentially it's an appropriation of the popular style at the time, which was American Ivy. Essentially, Black Ivy.
And I hate all this discourse about fucking appropriation. People borrow shit that looks cool. People do shit that sounds or is cool to them. Like, people exchange cultures. Like, I'm not a fan of this cultural parochialism where like everybody has to stick to their own kind. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's a very fucked up way of looking at the world.
Technically is just an extension of American Ivy. And as the book mentioned, and if you understand the history, after the death of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr., there is a noticeable shift that took place amongst Black America's cultural agents of change. Through the rise of hippie culture, the Black Panther Party, and the counterculture movement, the Black Ivy style faded a bit in the 70s. One of the most logical questions that I've received from both blacks and non-blacks and just everyone is, was Black Ivy actually real? Because it just seems like, well, this is the way people dressed in the 50s and 60s, and of course black people just dressed in the same exact way. So why is it called Black Ivy? Why is there no Italian Ivy? Or why is there no, other genres of Ivy based on race? What do you think Black Ivy communicated in the 20th century? I know you kind of touched on this a little bit. And then how would you contrast that to what Black Ivy communicates now in 2024?
I mean, as what it communicates now, I'm not sure. I was going to ask you that same question.
Sure.
I think at the time, it was definitely a challenge to people's ideas of what, a black person should be kind of aspiring to in terms of clothing.
I think there's a lot of people who poke at this idea that Black Ivy as a term and as a concept is modernist revisionist history, meaning that it's an interpretation of how people used to dress, but there's an association that didn't exist during the time, but we now have created an association because we want there to be some kind of value that derives from why people dressed the way they dressed during that time period. One of the comments that I stumbled across talking about Black Ivy was this one from a New York Times article. This comment, however accurate you take it for, gives a real-world account of the genres of style most seen in the 50s. To this person, there was the hustler style, the continental style, and then you had the Ivy style. Contrasting that with the genres of style available today, things have truly changed. But one of the most important reflections that I had while reading Black Ivy was reflecting on my personal identity as a African American, as a Black African American in 2024. When I was in school, I went to school with, what I would say is a accurate breakdown of what percentage of race would be in the U.S. So like you have majority of the kids in my school are white kids. Then you have another portion who are Hispanic, Latino, whatever it may be. Another portion that are Black, another portion that are Native American, Pacific Island, whatever it may be, right? I remember, and just as a lot of people understand culture and understand identity, there was a subset of kids in my school who looked quote unquote Black, if that makes sense, right? Whatever that idea is in for your head, right? They may be at the time during the mid 2000s or 20 teens is when I was in high school. They dressed in a particular way. They wore particular shoes. They had a particular vernacular speech that they spoke with. And a lot of people associated that with Blackness for the schools that I went to. For me, I was always kind of how you said earlier on, someone who's just a deviation away, right? Just a little bit different from what you would traditionally associate with a particular image. They would always say like one particular thing to me, like Drew, like we like you, whatever it is, we're friends. Like I was friends with a lot of people.
Hey, I didn't know Picasso did a portrait of Amy Cesare. It's cool. Post the person Western leftists would hate if they were alive today. This guy, they would say he's an anti-white racist and all sorts of other things. Or they would try to recruit him into their stupid little leftist cult. The thing that a lot of leftists need to learn is that, like, Black people are not here to serve you. We're not here to be your tools or lend tokenized legitimacy to your organizations. We're human fucking beings too. When you learn that, you will make it pretty far with us. If you don't learn that and you continue to treat us as tokens or as objects to be used like your ancestors did, then you're going to suffer. U.S. moles deploying UN Marine security team to Haiti amid gang crisis. The United States is considering deploying an elite Marine security team to Haiti because of a deteriorating security situation there, according to a defense official. Yes, the Marines have been to Haiti before, and they basically turned it into a puppet state under martial law. That's why, well, the Haitian people have a variety of reasons to despise the United States, but, like, it was an atrocious, barbaric occupation. Smedley Butler was there. And, yeah, he does not have many good things to say about what happened in Haiti. Gang attacks have shuttered his country's main international airport and freed more than 4,000 inmates. And he remains in Puerto Rico. He's on what is unfortunately United States soil. He was barred from landing in the Dominican Republic because airspace to and from Haiti is closed. The only people who can save Haiti are the Haitian people themselves. Kenyan cops cannot save Haiti. Americans cannot save Haiti. The Haitian people need a communist party, and they need to struggle against imperialism and their own sellouts. In 2023, more than 8,400 people in Haiti were reported killed, injured, or captured, more than double the number reported in 2022. The UN estimates that nearly half of Haiti's 11 million people need humanitarian assistance, but the 2024 humanitarian appeal for $674 million has received just $17 million, about 2.5% of what's needed. But yes, all we can send are fucking troops, because that's what we do. We fuck countries up, and ensure that they are ripe for our exploitation. And then when shit gets too fucking shiesty, we want to send in the Marines. Fuck the Marines.